And sir,
Gracias.
can you do that with that? Okay, that's impressive. I'd like to dedicate this edition to one former representative, Robert Cornejo, the former Hispanic caucus. Okay, we should probably take these off now because people are going to wonder what's going on. They're going to think we're about to rob a bank or something.
Fair enough.
What an awesome day. Cinco de Mayo, one of my favorite days. I love Halloween. I love Cinco de Mayo. Obviously, nothing quite touches Oktoberfest, but I mean, good stuff. You have got a busy week, right?
We do. We're going to have a busy week in the House, Senate, getting through budget, everything else.
So you got, was it conference tomorrow night?
I believe so. I'm not on, but I believe so.
Well, that's a great time to get for everybody else to do whatever they want, right?
Absolutely.
Like that. So you got a bill. Give me the top things you care about this session.
As far as being a guy and a rural-minded representative, I think there's a lot of good bills that we have that are positioned to get across. My workload and what I care the most about is making sure we have the opportunity to farm well into the future. So that got a bill worked across to the Senate. I don't know, it's had a tough time concerning regulations and pesticides, but other than that, there's a lot of other good ag bills we have in the House that we can get across, I believe.
Let's just talk about it. I mean, there's a simple choice this state has. You can either let Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party take over the herbicide business in this state, and pesticide business, or you can limit the amount you can sue Missouri companies and produce Roundup. I mean, the truth is, not one scientist is not somehow related to Dr. Fauci has ever said this causes cancer. It's been approved by all these different groups.
Yep.
The only place in the world where we have this problem, this regulatory red tape problem, is the United States of America. It should be a simple decision. You for China or you for America?
I agree, and we've been working hard,
Even on Cinco de Mayo, I'm still for America.
That's right. I'll take that. We've been working hard over in the Senate. Senator Berger's actually been a really good asset. He's been kind of working alongside with me, going in some meetings, kind of working on what we could change or what we could do to that bill to pivot, I guess, from the spot we were. And I think we've been making great progress.
I have a lot of common cause with our trial attorney friends. I think they do a lot of they able to chase your jokes on that, but they do a lot of very good things. I think the Missouri plan is the absolute best way to pick judges. I think you look at the ballot language on Amendment 3 written by an elected judge who was a former Democrat who ran as a Republican, which we're seeing more and more of. I think you can very much look at that and see there's a lot of points they make. I'm not the person that just totally thinks they have no points. I think on this one, pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered, right?
Yep.
They have gotten very fat on farmers and on Monsanto and on now Bayer. Yep. I do think you've reached the point where what would your farm do without Roundup?
Yeah, it's that's something that we don't want to go back.
You'd be crawling on your hands and east to China.
Yeah, it set us back in time, and ultimately a reliance on certain producers that we don't want to have reliance on.
Yeah, I mean, look, you either are going to go, somebody's going to take the L here. It's either going to be Missouri farmers or it's going to be China. Now, and I understand a lot of folks make a lot of money on the lawsuits.
Yep.
And look, a lot of times, good for them, man. I think a lot of people get screwed in life, and without a lawyer, they don't have the ability to come in and make that up.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So to me, I don't know. I think you can take any good thing you can take too far.
Yep.
And I'm not sure they haven't got all the meat off this bone, right?
Yep.
I also think nobody's saying this causes cancer except some WHO Fauci thing over in Europe, right?
Yep.
How many gallons of Roundup have you mixed in your life?
Yeah, we use it. We use it on a lot. Now it's predominantly in our rotation for one specific type of weed, but it for sure changed the way we farm long before I ever thought about farming myself.
Same here. So budget's coming up.
Yeah.
How about over in the Senate? They clipped one FTE out of. So here's the way this works. Now take my word for it. Don't. You have FTEs, right?
Yep.
I mean, have you been on budget?
No, I haven't.
Dodge that bullet.
Yeah,
Didn't you?
I have.
I tell you what, though, I will say this: there's no better place to learn state government than the House Budget Committee.
I agree, and I think that's on my list of something I would. I don't know now my second term.
You're totally lying. You're never going to want to do that. I wouldn't either.
I have a lot of good friends on budget.
Yeah, that's good. There you go. You do, though, in a way that you don't in any other place. You get to sit through and look at all the things, and you get to look. You get to spend more time reviewing each line item the state spends than any other group in the state.
Yep.
It is an amazing education. I guess the Senate budget clipped one of Wassinger's, the lieutenant governor's FTEs. The way it generally works is he has like 8 FTEs. He hires 5 people. He just takes the staff budget and pays the 5 people more than their FTE, right?
Yep.
It is a very common practice. It happens all over state government. Oddly enough, it was Senator Hoskins who, for 8 years, was a stickler with just put the amount the person makes and cut the FTEs. Well, they did that in his office in a big way. They did it in Lieutenant Governor Wassinger's office in a small way. And I don't think he liked it. I think he might not have been a fan of that cut. And he gave your friends across the aisle a good lecture about how they should do things. He said everybody in St. Roberts and Waynesville, and I think there was another town I don't think you would remember, were totally come up to him and told him how bad the state Senate is. When you go to Bates County, do you ever stop in Tipton? How do you?
Yeah, actually I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Have you ever stopped at that Amish store there by Syracuse?
Yep.
In Tipton, Syracuse, Sedalia, California, and Knobnoster, Warrensburg, all the way up even to maybe Lone Jack. Have you ever had somebody tell you about how bad the state Senate was?
No.
Ever?
No.
I never have either. Not one time. Now, I've never had anybody tell me it's great. I've never had anybody even talk about that in real life. Have you?
No.
Yeah, on Twitter, Facebook.
Sure. The echo chamber, sure.
Yeah. But as far as I've never been at the Amish store there outside Syracuse, and somebody come up to me and said, "You're not going to believe what the state Senate did today." It's never happened to me in my life.
No, I agree.
All right, so pivoting forward, he tells them that they need to, he's going to have some rule change. He's going to straighten the place out, right? Boy, wouldn't it have been awesome to have a couple of these margaritas with Cindy O'Loughlin Thursday afternoon? I mean, how fun would that have been?
I would have loved that.
Because at first it came off, and she was putting it out through her staff that she wasn't really that mad about this. That she would just take the slap and no big deal, which I never believed. And then I don't know when it was on Friday, her Facebook post came up. And the Facebook post, I mean, look, here's my take on it. You stop me when you disagree. You have a very good relationship with many, many members of the state Senate.
Yep.
I think they were never going to take this well, nor did Wassinger want them to take it well. Wassinger wanted to get attention from attacking them. But I think it would have went down a lot better because they were accustomed to Parson and Kehoe spending a lot of time in there, running the dais, and they knew the rules because they were senators. Nobody expected David Wassinger to know the rules like a person who had served in the Senate for 8 years on day one. That's not real.
No.
But let's be honest, David Wassinger was a very smart man. He did not spend a lot of time learning those rules. Even today, people want to pile on him now. Now after his speech Thursday, it's fashionable to pile on him. He has gotten a lot better at running the dais. But he's still not great at it. He also leaves. He's there for an hour. He was there for the longest I've ever seen him for Thursday, that I've seen. For the most part, he's there. If he's there for an hour, maybe 2 hours, he bolts, which the senators aren't accustomed to. I think they'd have been a lot more receptive to that if he'd have shown up or if he'd learned the rules. How do you know you don't like the rules if you don't learn them?
Yeah. And from the other side of the building, I don't even, it's one of those I like going over and listening and studying. Of course, if we're out and they're in, but I can say I don't absolutely know all the rules, and the prestige that comes along with the Senate is another thing also.
But you probably aren't going to lecture them about the rules that you don't know.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, it's just one of those things where I think people would have taken it better if he'd have put the work in.
Yep.
And I think he didn't quite put the work in. It would be kind of like a guy showing up at your farm and working an hour, half an hour, 2 hours a day. Then on Friday, wanting to tell you how you could do things better. It's you when you're there presiding in the dais at midnight with the other Republicans and even other Democrats, and you're going through those shared experiences. You're building relationships. You get to know them. Then I think you're a lot more open to somebody complaining about you than a guy that I think people just feel like haven't put the time in.
Yeah. And I think a lot about prestige and honor of the Senate. For 40 years there's Republicans and minorities, as a minority party in the Senate. How did we have to use those rules to our advantage when we were in that position? So.
Dick Webster was the conservative vanguard of this state with a caucus of 9 and the Senate rule book. The Senate rule book kept, if there's a policy you don't like from the left, you can thank that Senate rule book, because Dick Webster used every comma, every period, every word in that rule book to hold the line.
And those are the stories I love to hear.
Now, how do you, by the same token, you and I think that's great. We applaud Dick Webster. We thank him for what he's done, right? Now, how hypocritical would it be of you and I to look at Doug Beck, who thinks differently than us, who's raised differently than us, who lives in a different part of the state than we do, for doing the exact same thing?
Yeah. That's exactly where I'm at, Scott.
I don't like it. Like, the Prop A thing is a disaster. It is a disaster. It is the Federalist Society is the Republican group who comes into our state and wants to pick our leaders and essentially looks at us just as dog crap. They think Missourians are worthless. Missouri, let me just tell you. Missouri, listen to me. If you're in the Federalist Society and you're a Missourian, pick one, because you can't pick both. It's just not real. They treat you like crap, and you eat it up with a spoon. Have some dignity for yourself, man. Be a Missourian. Be in the Federalist Society, but you can't pick both.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to ask, what other group of people on this planet would let Washington people come in and boss them around? And now I'm seeing AFSCME and SEIU come to town. They put something on the ballot. They pay for it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the members of the Democrat side of the state Senate have to jump too. Yeah. And I think a lot of this is, you both sides will tell you, maybe Senator O'Loughlin called session early one night at 1:30 when they were getting close to a deal. Maybe later in this negotiations, the Democrats are having to be on the phone to Washington and getting some clearance, which I think it's very hypocritical of the party of Josh Hawley to say, "Oh, you're too beholden to Washington elites." But okay, that may be. Yeah. I'm not in that room. The Prop A is awful. Yeah. I think it's a terrible thing. And some of the social issue stuff affects 6 people in the whole state, right? Maybe you passionately disagree, but it's a very minute group of people. Prop A affects everybody.
It does, and it's something that, quite honestly, I've heard the most about. It didn't. We talk about Amendment 3. It's absolutely Prop A and how it's going to affect their business.
Well, I don't think anybody was in Prop A until they got the letter from someone saying this is the new rules you have to go by.
Yeah.
Then they were like, "What?
Yeah.
I didn't. What did Dane do?" And it's like, "No, what did you do?" Here's my thing. I watch this a lot. You have a lot of business groups throwing a fit in your office right now, right? Yep. Got to pass this. Got to fix this.
Yep.
Let me give you a margarita glass of knowledge prediction. AFSCME and SEIU are not dumb. They are very intelligent people. They are very intelligent about politics. I think you're going to come in. Ultimately, you get a compromise, right? Mm-hmm. You get a compromise statutorily. Statutory compromise comes in. When it comes in, you'll change this law. You'll mitigate it. I think they go right to the ballot, this time in the Constitution, and they enshrine all this stuff in the Constitution. That's just my prediction. These are not dumb people. No. They know what they're doing.
No, absolutely.
And let me also tell you, the people behind Prop A, they don't care about you and me.
No.
Any more than the Federalist Society does.
No.
Don't trust the right. Don't trust the left. They're one just as full of shit as the other one. I think these are anytime the contact number on the press release has 202, I'm like, I don't know. And they don't give a damn if it's right, Republican, Democrat, whatever it is. They care about taking Missouri on their little whiteboard of states and coloring us in.
Yep.
The Federal Society just wants to color us in, and these Prop A people just want to color us in. That's all they care about. And they're willing to spend a lot of money to do it.
They are. And I think that's kind of some of the talk. Does it matter, whatever we do, does it matter, or are they coming back regardless? I think that's been a lot of conversation also had in the building.
Here's my prediction. They're coming back.
Yep.
And all the same business people that are in your office saying, dang, we got to do something. There won't be a dime of their money put into pushing it back. Now, I can tell you that is historically what has happened.
That's right.
I think you could you could tweak the edges of Prop A, and I think they come back and they put an even stronger message in the Constitution.
I agree.
But here's the thing. People say, well, change the IP process. I generally agree with that, right? But you can't change it to some Amendment 3, right?
I agree. No,
you don't have the votes.
Right.
You might even say, okay, Curtis Trent had an idea, though. He's a smart son of a gun.
He is.
That dude is smart. He had the idea of, why don't we just put something on, because you have to put on the ballot regardless to change the IP process.
Yep.
That's what people was like, oh, Senator Coleman. I'm like, you had an entire election after
get
that.
through.
That I don't. Again, who was going to fund that election?
Exactly.
I know who's going to fund the other side.
Well funded.
I don't think. Show me who the funding was. If you did pass this, people want to break this up to her. I'm like, you had this, as Churchill would say, you were not at the beginning of the end. You weren't even at the end. You were at the end of the beginning. That's all you were.
That's exactly right.
But I do think maybe the business community, the pro-life community, you can say, okay, everything that's passed before this date is under the new system. Everything that's certified to get signatures under the new system. Everything on the old system you could repeal with a 50+1, just like it was put in the Constitution. Now, I don't know the legality of that, but Senator Trim brought that up to me one day, and I thought, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think he does probably know the legality of that.
I bet he does.
I would completely agree.
If anybody does, I mean, it never ceases to amaze me how smart that dude is.
I like going in his office just to kind of learn.
Well, I like going to his office for Bruce, but
that's true.
I mean,
he tried running me off.
I'm personally a Victoria guy, but other people are BDG guys.
That whole office, Bruce tried running me off for a long time, and I just was persistent. And he's just finally, when I walked by the office and he waved me in, I knew I'd won.
Oh, you got the call.
Yeah.
It's like the Godfather seeing you on the day of his daughter's wedding. You get to come in.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about. I was really proud of your speaker. He brought the VLT bill across the finish line.
Yep.
I thought that was a take the politics of the bill out of it. Right.
That's right.
I think the biggest thing was that he went hard on something and he came through.
He did.
And people, vote against, vote for.
Absolutely.
That's your prerogative. I just was I was happy for him because I think he's a good guy.
I do too.
And I like the fact he brought something in.
I do too. And he worked it, and he was committed to it, and he stayed committed. And that, as a leader, is something that's very important to me.
All right, a bill that probably it's funny. We could talk about the successes of Session, and most all of them have one thing in common: they're from St. Louis, right?
Okay.
What would you do? Okay. What do you tell folks back home you got done if you don't get the Farm Bureau insurance bill done?
Yeah, I think that as far as we're talking about priorities and what we want done and something that'll affect
what
all
does Dean
Missouri.
Van Schweik?
Yep.
What does Donnie Brown? What does
Affects us all.
Cameron Parker? What does Tara Peters? What do they say they got done this year for their constituents?
Yep.
I mean, look, I understand. If you were running for the Board of Aldermen in St. Louis right now, you'd have a hell of a resume after this legislative session.
Yep.
You could be elected in the Central West End, no problem. You've done a lot for those people. I don't know what you've done for Central Bates County yet if you don't get that bill done.
That's right. And I think we're in a good position, have great support all across the state
So have you kept it clean?
to get that done. Yep.
Some of the city folks made a run at muddying it up. Is it clean right now?
I think it has. I do think it has some additions on there, but with 2 weeks left, and depending
What are the additions?
I think there was. I'm not 100% sure. I think it had a one to dealing with on the insurance side on prior authorization.
That'll kill it. That has no hope.
If it goes back.
The Hospital Association's taken their own bill and just shot it to death.
And then I'm not sure what the other parameter was, but I think there was a couple that got added on it in the that come out of the House, out of the committee.
What's the chances you could just go to the Speaker and be like, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of all the work we've done this year for St. Louis. What do we do outside 270?
Yeah.
Let's just pass this bill. And prior authorization is a wonderful thing. I'm sure it's got its own support.
Yep.
It's such a great idea. I'm sure it'll pass on its own, right?
Yep.
Why? Right now, this urban people have rode rural Missouri to passing all these laws. Isn't it time to do one damn thing for rural Missouri?
And you can bet rural Missouri's been having those conversations. We've been working not only from the ag committee, from the rural Republican side.
Is it time to just say we're not having session? Because here's the thing: without the rural members, there's no session.
Yep, that's right.
I can help you out here.
What are we writing?
I'm going to do a score tally here.
Okay.
We have St. Louis, and then Missouri.
Okay.
So you have I'm having trouble fitting all the spaces. This is the tally so far from session.
Okay.
As far as what's actually done.
Yep.
You have St. Louis, 8 million things done. Nothing for rural Missouri. At what point does Donnie Brown and Jeff Faughn not just set up in cogs and say, boys, we're leaving?
Yeah.
If you're not going to do anything for our people, why the hell are we here?
I think those conversations and that that zero is heavily weighted. That bill will give a win all across Missouri.
You bet it will.
Change the not only the
and
landscape.
I understand. No one in Soulard cares. I get it. No one downtown at the Arch cares. No one at Crown Candy cares. No one. Well, they don't have Culpeppers anymore. Someone bought that in the Central West did, but nobody at the Drunken Fish in the Central West didn't give. Nobody at the Chase Park Plaza gives a damn. And I understand that. But I think what you might start wondering is how many people in Bates County give a damn about Soulard? Because they paid you to work your ass off for Soulard this year.
Yep.
What is it? I mean, at some point, do you not sit up in caucus and be like, would tell the people in the city of St. Louis don't even vote for you guys. They don't even want any of that. Bates County does want something.
They do.
Isn't it time they got it?
They do. Yeah, I absolutely. And I think we've been working on that. And a couple of weeks left. We'll see how the cards fall.
I asked the speaker, okay, all these other bills are fine. I think it's fine to have VLTs and gas. They're a very fine thing. But I think they'd rather have health insurance.
Yep, absolutely.
That's just my white trash opinion.
And, it took a lot of effort to get it through the Senate. We knew working on this bill for the last 3 years that navigating it through the Senate was going to be tough.
At some point you'd have there. Prior auth, Visco voted prior auth. Why should rural Missouri suffer for that?
Right. I like the path.
Do you?
I do.
Keep it clean?
Yep. I do.
Yeah. Put a bunch of liberal.
That's what we have to work for.
Putting a bunch of liberal crap on there, I just think it shoots it down.
Yep. I think we got to continue those conversations.
Who's the bill handler?
On that, Representative Pollitt. Brad Pollitt.
Brad's a good guy.
Oh, man. He's
if
really,
you wanted something serious done, you go to Brad.
Yep. And he, whenever now Senator Gregory left, Curtis Gregory, Brad kind of
promoted, not just left.
He kind of acts like he left us now.
Oh, he get the big head? Yeah.
He comes over and watches us from the side gallery and kind of gives us chin nods.
He offers autographs and stuff.
Wants everything clean of his.
Have you ever met a senator that didn't come over and say, could you just pass this?
No.
You dweeb, just get it done. But in this situation, I think it's honestly a thing.
And that's what he said. He said, by how much work and negotiations went in this, he's like, I know why senators come over here and say they want it clean because of the amount of work it took on that side of the building.
Well, I just think, sometimes they're bluffing, right?
Right.
I believe that. But sometimes they're not. And I think taking obviously controversial things that the own advocates of this bill have basically took the bill and just done that to it by their own doing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that want to vote for that bill. They just don't trust the people to make the decisions they've made to support this. I just don't know why you do that to rural Missouri. And if you do, I understand. The Post-Dispatch and the Star, urban papers, they care about their communities, and I think that's great. But isn't it time? Folks just got serious and said, now, damn it. I appreciate all the stuff you do for St. Louis, but maybe it's time you realize you actually have constituents where you live.
Yep.
This is not the Board of Aldermen.
That's right.
All right, somebody else. Tell me something good that's happening.
Everything's still functioning. We got both sides of the building still working. 2 weeks left. It's my most exciting time, but where we were and that's what echoing on that speech last week to where we are now. It's exciting. I don't know what else we get done. We talked about a lot of things that we have already got done, but there's a lot of great things that could still get across the finish line.
I think you're right, and I think they will. I think the one thing out there that really matters to people would be this insurance bill.
Yep.
I think if you're talking about what actually starts to change dynamics and improve this state, I just don't know what the 18th bill for St. Louis would do compared to this one thing to do for rural Missouri.
We talk about a bill that will keep people in rural Missouri. That's farm insurance health care.
We'll give them the chance to.
Yep.
People talk about rural hospitals going away. You can have all the damn hospitals you want.
Yep.
If you can't afford to get in the damn thing, it doesn't matter.
That's right. And, it's a game changer, and several constituents from my area have been up advocating for it, and it's something that we could for sure see a big difference on right there at home.
Who is the person that will decide whether to load this up with a bunch of crap or just deliver a win for rural Missouri? Who is the person that makes that decision?
I think both. I think not only our floor leader, but also our speaker in discussions on what to do with that bill. And I think that there's been conversations.
I think I'm going to the press conference on Thursday.
Okay.
And just ask them. If they don't have this done by Thursday.
Now we got another week.
I know, but by the time they have the next press conference, it'll be over.
That's true.
I think I'm going to go ask it. I understand the Board of Aldermen, the Missouri House of Representatives here has passed a lot of legislation, but if you can't get the Farm Bureau thing done, What do you I understand what you tell people in where you live, but if you stop at the gas station in Lebanon and somebody sees your plates and they see that pin, they say, "What'd you get done for Lebanon?" What in the hell would you tell them you did?
Well, I'll tell them we got 2 weeks left and we're going to pass some good priorities for rural Missouri.
I like that. Speaking of Curtis, he's done a good job. Talk about a heart. I watched, they had a whole calendar of his one day. It was just like representative from Saline, or senator from Saline, recognized for Bill, senator for Saline, recognized for Bill. I mean, the dude he's a bill passing machine now.
He's coming into it.
Farm Bureau is a big deal.
It is. And he put in a ton of
What
effort.
happened to that bill, speaking of, to extend the tax credits on these ag tax credits and the FRA?
Yeah.
And something to harass
Senate Bill 10?
transsexuals. Yeah.
Senate Bill 10.
Is that in the House?
Yeah, I think it just came out of committee last week. I've been asking, kind of
Man,
inquiring.
that seems like a good deal.
I think it does. I think
Give the city people something with trans, and you extend the FRA, and then a bunch of other things get
the
extended.
ag tax credit, MASBTA program.
Yeah.
I can't completely say how it came out of committee. Now that our committee chair, that might be Representative Baker's last bill out of committee.
Hey, speaking of, man, that's a big deal.
That's huge.
People do not understand how big a job that is.
That's outstanding. And what a better guy. I mean,
The
not a
dude
better
is
guy.
competent. Look,
Yep.
it's so funny. I said something nice on Twitter. I got all these people. You know what? He's a House member. He probably does some stunt or something. But the dude's a smart, serious dude.
He is.
And I think he's going to do a great job.
Rural development, I mean, how broad is that? There's a lot of things you can do.
Nobody
from that
has a
office.
clue how much they do.
Yeah.
The loan, just take the loan guarantees.
Yep.
When a community wants to recruit a factory and they have to build a building or change the facility or change the entrance, egress, ingress, rural development is the ones that guarantee all those loans.
That's right.
I mean, it is a huge, huge job.
I'm excited.
I am too. I'm excited for him. I'm happy for him. I guess he's already resigned.
I don't really know. I don't know how all that works. That's what I've kind of gathered off social media. You know, I sent him a congratulatory text, but I don't know if you have to resign as soon as you're appointed, if it doesn't take effect till you get up there. I don't really know.
Something tells me most of these Trump appointments I've seen, you have to drop out of everything
Okay.
immediately when it's announced.
Okay.
I guess I think sometimes they may hold the announcement because you have something you want to get
Get
done or
done.
whatever. But what I've seen from the Trump people is that once you get picked publicly, which I don't think this takes confirmation. I think this is a decision by the director of Ag.
I believe.
So I think, but once it's announced publicly, you have to start the
Okay.
process of getting out. But maybe they have a different situation because this isn't a cabinet level thing. But
Right.
boy, people just don't get how a big job that is.
No, and you know, we're gonna miss him. Quite honestly, we're gonna miss him.
Dude holds the floor very well.
I've went to him on several issues and had great conversations. Not always that something that we're 100% on the same note of music, but he gives me an honest take and where he's at, and I've always valued that about him.
I do too. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a solid dude, and
He'll be able to navigate Washington D.C. fine. I mean, he's gonna do just fine.
I think you're sort of the liaison, right?
Yep.
That connects Missouri to Washington, and that USDA is a big deal. I
It
mean,
is.
I'm all for it cutting the Department of Education, HUD,
Yep.
whatever, but don't cut USDA. Tell that guy that plugs his cars in to just go doge other stuff. Leave rural Missouri alone.
I think the new director, Brooke Rawlings, is doing great things. Has a great staff, including one of Missouri's own, Richard Fordyce. He's he's one of the big directors for the USDA. I believe in charge of the Commodity Credit Corp. But he's got some great things that he's going to do also.
I just like Richard.
He's great.
I mean, he obviously the guy can negotiate. I mean, he married up
Yeah,
to a
he
very
did.
large extent.
Renee can sure.
You won't be on Renee's bad side. That's not the place to
No,
be.
no. she's
I want to live.
outstanding.
I want to live my life on Renee's good side because I think it's a much better life to live.
I don't think I've ever been on her bad side. And I don't plan to either.
Yeah, I'd keep it that way. I don't think I'd want to. I don't think I'd want to see their side. All right, I know you got to get to the House of Representatives. Give me a prediction. You gonna just pass the damn Farm Bureau bill, or the urban liberal is gonna just screw rural Missouri again?
I think we keep working very hard. There's a good probability.
What
we'll
if you
get it
did
done.
this? What if you said, if this is not done Thursday, rural Missouri's not showing up Monday. We're gonna go out to the Soybean Association. Casey's gonna tell us all stories, and you can sit in the parking lot at Farm Bureau and drink a beer and be like, if you can't do one thing for us, why are we here continuing to do things for St. Louis? Did you when you were running for office, did you promise to do every minute of your day for St. Louis? Because I don't think Cameron Parker did. I don't think Hardy Billington did.
I for sure like assisting them, and I think it's time to reciprocate that, and let's get this bill passed.
Fine to be neighborly, right?
Yep.
But you can't just always let him borrow your tools, right?
That's true.
And if he does, he ought to put a little gas in it. Time for our urban friends, put a little gas back in the tiller before they return it.
Yep, I have faith in leadership. I think they're having those right conversations.
See, I'm
They're gonna
German,
take
so
care
I'm
of us.
skeptical. Are they?
I think they're going to take care of us.
Kelton, can you clip this?
Please.
Yeah,
Can you?
I'll clip it.
All right.
All right.
now.
Leadership's going to get that bill done.
Maybe time for a rule man in leadership. If they don't, I really think you just have to. I really just think you have to put a flag in. I mean, if they can't get this done, you have to say, okay, the supermajority of this caucus is rule. Since nobody we elect leadership gives a shit about us, maybe it's time to put a rule person in leadership if they can't get this done.
Well, I sure value who we have now, and I'm going to keep working to make sure that bill gets across finish
Will
line.
your constituents value them if this fails?
We'll have some conversations to be had.
Bet you will.
Yep, we'll have some conversations to be had.
I'm coming to the bar in Bates County to stir up trouble.
You come
I'm going
on.
to play this clip and say, like, look at what this sucker thought the city folks were. He believed them.
I think Curtis Gregory and I, of all people, are featured for our county in August, so hopefully we have good things to talk about.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, he's coming all the way down from Saline down to Bates.
Oh,
I'll let him probably.
Well, are you
have
sure
the
he'll
steal the
actually
show.
come, or will he just cancel like a
Well,
senator?
I think as his roommate, I'll make sure he's committed.
Yeah, you probably make sure he is. Are you expecting again?
Man, news travels fast. I
Yeah.
am number 3.
Number 3.
3. I guess we'll have 3 and under. I guess is the correct way.
Woo!
Wife's a saint, moneymaker, breadwinner. My income comes in waves, Scott. So she
And you're really just not handsome enough that I think you could pull that off. But
tricked her.
Way to go.
Tricked her.
Great moves.
Tricked
I'm
her.
very impressed.
Yep, number 3, boy, girl. This will be the tiebreaker.
This is going to be it? You're going to do more?
My other roommate, Brad Christ, has 4. And Claudia Kehoe told me last week, she goes, it's better to have an even number. So I've sure been lobbying, but being gone 5 months out of the year, I've been shut down.
The decision makers back in Bates County right now, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think people can lobby you if they want to, but I mean,
I'm at her discretion.
yes. All right.
All right.
Have a happy Cinco de Mayo. Shout out. This is our honorary Robert Cornejo edition.
Yep.
We're going to be back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock with Maggie Nuremberg. We're going to talk all things German heritage tomorrow with Faughn and Nuremberg here. We have a good time talking to her. We'll see how she liked her scolding from Lieutenant Governor, who's
will.
taking a much more active role in the chamber now.
Be a different take.
I'm actually, so folks, it's, what is it, about 20 till? Maybe listen to the Senate never starts on time, so about 4:20. Maybe flip the Senate on. I think it will be interesting to see how well the state Senate has coalesced behind their Lieutenant Governor in his new leadership ideas.
Absolutely. Enjoy some margaritas tonight.
Yes. And the next time a situation like this happens, have your margaritas ready and beeline it to Senator O'Loughlin's office and just sit and listen, because it'll be a good time. We'll see you tomorrow at 9.